Well, welcome everybody to A 1 Degree of Scandalous with Cato Kalin and Tom Zenner. Cato, how are you, man? Good to see you.
Good to be here again with yourself and, of course, Stock Tip Dave.
Yes, Stock Tip Dave behind the glass there. Feel free to jump in at some point today if you got an opinion.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Not yet.
Not yet.
Jeez,
and faster
Stock
than
Tip,
that.
God,
That was slow.
You give it.
You got to pay attention.
He takes over like that. Jeez.
Cato, how's it going, man? Everything
Good.
cool?
Yeah. This week I'm going to do for our show. I'm going to be hooked up into about 1.5 million different viewers for our show. I'm going to do a sit down. What they do is you sit down and someone calls you up from radio stations across America, and I hit everybody.
God, that's awesome.
It's going to be.
Is it all satellite?
Satellite, yeah.
Yeah. So from your house, or are you
live.
going somewhere?
No, I'm going to go right here. I'm going to be at my house.
Killer.
My house and just.
So it's almost like a junket, right? I mean,
It
like
is a junket.
you just did one after another after another. What do you think they're gonna? Does
I think
everybody
they're
want to
talking
hit you
about
about OJ?
I think so. I don't know if it's because I did the Vlad TV,
Yeah.
but it happened before Vlad. They asked me to do it. So it's just like all the stuff is kind of happening. So I think it's just great for us. And the person that called me knew about 1 Degree of Scandalous, which is a great thing.
Okay,
So word
fantastic.
of mouth's getting out there. Subscribe on YouTube, everybody.
I can't wait. I bet you keep the same energy from the very first one until the last one. You give
do.
everybody
That's why
their money worth.
they invited me back. It's the second time I've done this for them.
It is fun, though. I mean, people either like to promote or they don't.
Yeah.
Because some people hate it. There's a lot of people, movie stars, actors, that don't like to promote. And that, you know what? That's part of your job.
Oh, it's in the
as an
contracts.
actor.
Yeah.
But they still don't like doing it. They're forced to do it. I enjoy doing it, don't you?
Well, yeah, I love it.
Yeah.
You know that there was a movie called Don't Worry, or Olivia Wilde, and that was a huge scandal because the lead actress had her last name, I don't even know who it was. Her name's Pugh, not like P-E-W.
Amanda?
Or Amanda Pugh.
Okay, yeah.
So there was a big fight when it was with Chris Pine. Shia LaBeouf backed out of the movie, so they got Harry Styles. He started dating the director. Don't Worry, Darling, that's what it's
I
called.
watched it.
And
I saw part of it. Yeah.
total bomb.
Yeah.
It
I
was
watched
just-
it. I stumbled on
I
it.
couldn't watch. I couldn't finish it.
It was weird. I stumbled onto it. It was on HBO Max, I think, and I'm going.
Yeah.
Well, the thing that blew me away, though, I thought Harry was a really good actor because I didn't know that was Harry Styles until
Yeah.
maybe 45 minutes into it. So I didn't associate that and think, "Wow, here's a pop star trying to act." I thought he was pretty good in it.
Yeah,
it was weird though.
the
It was a
movie
weird show.
It was sort of like a bad Stepford Wives. The first Stepford Wives great. Then they did one with Nicole Kidman, another bomb.
Yeah.
But there was something with a Spitgate. Someone spit on someone. It's one of the scandals of 2022. But I didn't, like I said, I didn't finish the film. And Olivia Wilde was dating, I think, the Ted Lasso. Well, there was forever, and
Jason Sudeikis.
Sudeikis, and I guess that was a heartbreak for him of how it happened because she met Harry Styles, and that lasted only a month or two. So
Look
I
at
think
you.
he got what he wanted.
Putting all this gossip
Styles.
together. That's
Yeah.
right. That's right. That's
Well, it's
probably where they
scandals.
met on that set.
Yeah, it had to be.
Yeah.
She was directing, and I think they had high hopes for this, and it was just, like I said, bomb.
Yeah. Okay, so I stopped at a gas station on the way over here, right? And I saw something.
Wait a
I
minute, you
never
got a hybrid. I'm kidding.
right. You never see this anymore. The two people in front of me both bought cigarettes. One bought a carton of them. I didn't even know they still sell those, right?
Yeah.
I mean, do people still smoke? And then here's the funny thing. So the one person bought a carton, the other one bought one pack. And then I saw this story today. I actually wrote this story for valuetainment.com. Post Malone, dude has a smoking problem. They asked him how many cigarettes he smokes in a day. Take a guess. How many cigarettes Post Malone smokes per day?
Well, now that you say it that way, I'm going to guess 100 cigarettes.
That's an interesting guess. How many are in a pack? 20? So that, 12?
No. There's more than 12
20.
cigarettes
I think
in a
there's
pack.
20
It's
or
gotta be
24
at
or
least
something.
20.
Yeah.
gotta
So
be-
that's like 5 packs. Okay, what do you say? Stock tip?
I'm going to say 50 just from what you just said.
All right, that's a good guess. 45 a day. That's his average. But think about that. So if that's 2 or 3 an hour, that's 4 an hour for 12 hours almost, right?
Yeah.
He said his highest was like about 80. He'll smoke 80 cigarettes.
I believe in the secondhand smoke. I don't smoke, and everybody. I play poker. I play poker with a bunch of guys from XM, or the satellite radio.
Sirius.
So we got a Sirius radio. We got a game we do. We've been doing it for so many years. Everybody but me, and maybe one other guy, does not smoke a cigar, and I mean it goes on all night, and it's getting to a point now. I can totally tell it's. I've never had problems like the breathing, the lungs, and I can feel it.
You can
now.
feel that secondhand cigar smoke.
Yeah, and I'm like, wow. This
Plus,
is,
you come home and you.
well, it's
It
first
was
of all,
like
we
you
play-
smoked, right?
we
'Cause you
play in a-
smell it.
Yeah, we play in a place where he does as a built home studio, so it's a pretty small. Smoke is in there. We have a door that would open outside, and we keep it if it's cold. They keep it. Anyways, the point is, it's amazing how the secondhand smoke is finally starting to
Interesting.
affect me after all these years.
Well, I guess. Well,
And I
cigar
stink.
smoke's pretty thick, right?
First thing I do, go home. I put everything in the laundry room
Got to, right?
and
Or
take
else
a
it'll
shower.
stink up the house.
So like 3 a.m., I'm
Yeah.
taking a shower.
I usually get in trouble if I have a cigar because it's detected, right? But I love to smoke a cigar. I just find you can be really creative when you smoke a cigar. Have you
Yeah,
never tried it?
Oh, I've had cigars before.
Don't like
but
them?
Yeah,
Yeah,
no.
people either love them or hate them. Okay, so NFL playoffs are going on. One of the big stories in the NFL, it has been for the year, and especially now in the playoffs, is people are bitching about the referees.
Yeah.
Right? And I've got an opinion on that, and I'll tell you what I think. I don't think they do that bad of a job. I really don't. When you consider how fast things are happening in a game, especially receivers on the sideline and in the end zone, how they're generally able to get that accurately and then they can fix it. But there shouldn't be an excuse for any missed calls with replay.
Yeah.
So what do you think? Do you think it's bad? Do you
First
think
of all, I hate receivers. After every play they miss, they go to the ref like throw the flag, which is come on. Every game, every player does that. Wick, if they miss a ball, they want a penalty thrown. But I really believe that there's illegal gambling. I think referees have fixes.
Oh, come on.
I
now.
do. I
Do-
really
wait,
do.
time out. You're not just throwing that out there?
No, I think that's cheating involved. I think if the guy in the NBA did it, there's definitely some form of cheating. They have so much power with the power of the flag, of throwing a flag. I really do.
So the calls are that horrible, egregious,
Well,
that you're thinking there's got to be
I
more
think
to
it-
this than this guy just being a bad ref.
I think referee and I think the players. I mean, not Bill Maher, but Maher, the kicker for Dallas. He missed 4 in one game, but he had a record of missing 5 extra points. It's never been done. 5 extra points he missed, and the spread was the over was by 3.5. I just, what are the odds that he missed the spread because he missed extra points?
But here's the thing. Everybody knows who's putting the money down. So I guess you couldn't do it in Vegas because that would get a lot of attention. I don't know. He'd have to be a really accurate kicker to hit the post. Or if you're going to miss like who was that kicker? It was the semifinal game in college football. Ohio State, right, against Georgia. And the Ohio State kicker set it about 45 yards to the left.
Yeah,
wide.
to win the game.
Yeah.
That and then the in NFL it was 27-0 Chargers. That was a guy put down a bet to win 11,000. He put down 1.4 million
And lost. That was the biggest idiotic gamble ever. That guy's a moron. I mean, how do you do that?
If I had the money, I would make that bet. How do you lose 27-0 to cover? He didn't cover.
Yeah.
It's
the Chargers. I think you got to be careful.
It wasn't
I
that
think it could
guy
happen.
from Houston, obviously. Mattress Mac.
Oh,
he
yeah.
would have won.
Mattress Mac, who I know personally, and I've known him for a long time. He's a crazy dude. You see him in the news all the time because he's always laying out these big wagers. He's the guy that bought like 2,000 of my books one time with that a book I did on the Houston Astros, and he really ground me on that. I mean, he's a tough negotiator, but because we put him out throughout his stores, Gallery Furniture in Houston. But interesting cat. We tried to get him on the show during the World Series.
I like the guy.
Yeah, no,
I follow him on
he's all right.
Instagram, and
He's
I like this
interesting.
guy. He's an older guy that is just enjoying life.
He's got a big heart. He opens up the stores whenever there's a hurricane or a big disaster or storm in Houston. Hey, what we're gonna do in this show, since we've just started 2023, we're gonna look back at some of the biggest scandals of last year. We can do that in a second. Let me ask you another thing. I want your opinion on this. Tom Brady, what does he do next?
Well, in the game that he just did, I think Tom Brady's got to retire, and I've never seen a quarterback so off. And making excuses like it was the receiver's fault. He was off, and you knew as soon as he threw the interception in the first quarter in the red zone, you knew the game was over. I knew the game was over. He's awful. He's got to. I think he knows it's done. His parents were at the last game. You see him walking off, give him the kiss. They don't go to all the games. They went to this playoff game. It's over. He's got the deal at Fox. Why is he going to play anymore?
I 100% think he's coming back. I disagree. I think he's coming back. I think he's done in Tampa. He's going to come back. I don't know where, because Miami seems the logical choice because that's where his kids are. That's where his business is. He's opening up Tom Brady Enterprises in Sunny Isles, 4,500 square foot office.
Do you want this guy to be your quarterback when everybody's coming and running and he doesn't have it? And I love Tom Brady. He's done.
Wouldn't that be ironic if he retires this year? when he basically lost his marriage over it by not retiring last
Let
year.
me ask you a question. If Tom Brady retires and Aaron Rodgers retires, who gets more press?
Brady, 100%. I mean, Brady's an icon. He's
Do you
the
think
GOAT.
that they call each other and say, listen, I'm going to do it this week. Why don't you wait a month?
No, I think they'll say, let's not do it the same year, because that means they'd have the same induction speech year. They'd go in at the same time. They'd have to share that spotlight. No way is your boy Aaron Rodgers sharing the spotlight with anybody.
No, I agree with you.
Yeah.
No, I agree. I think
one of them will
everybody's got
hang on an
ego.
extra
They
year.
both have, obviously, your quarterback, you got an ego. You're doing commercials, you're doing endorsements. You have to have an ego.
Yeah, you have
So-
to have a big ego,
and
no
so
question about it.
They won't have it separately. But I don't think Rodgers retires. I don't know if he's going to be Green Bay Packer. But
Rodgers won't retire because all he has to do is play, and he gets $59 million
Yeah,
guaranteed.
59
yeah,
mil.
I know that deal's still there. But they may rework that deal. He thinks that Packers, according to I watched Pat McAfee on Tuesday, and Rodgers had said that he thinks the Packers are good enough for a Super Bowl. They got good enough players. It just didn't happen.
Yeah, we'll see. I mean,
They got
I
through
don't know.
They
They
got
got a
through
lot
that
of holes.
freshman year of.
There's some good teams in the NFC. Dallas isn't going anywhere. Philadelphia.
Brady could go
Detroit
to
will probably do
Raiders.
pretty good next year. Anyway.
Brady can go where?
The Raiders.
I don't think so. He's not going to go that far away from his kids, I don't think.
Derek Carr sent his going
he's
away
done.
letter.
Yeah, and Josh McDaniels overrated. By the way, allow me to have.
Oh, I got a feeling
allow
you're
me.
going to go with
Allow
You're
me.
going to go with
No,
Belichick
but
here.
you know what?
You
Let
said
me-
Josh McDaniels, and immediately you got buzzed by Bill Belichick.
Allow me to make a point, okay? And I'm imploring people with a brain to come to my defense, because there is no logical argument you can make against what I'm about to say. And it's not personal.
Yeah.
But Bill Belichick is unequivocally, without a doubt, the most overrated head coach in the history of the NFL, bar none, zero debate, losing record by a lot under 500 without Tom Brady. That's all you need to know. He's a product of Tom Brady. Why won't anybody else say this? Why do you have to always say Bill Belichick is a great coach? He is not a great coach. He's Romeo Crennel without Tom Brady. He's a great coordinator, defensive coordinator. He's a terrible head coach.
No, I disagree. I
He
think
rode
you can
Brady's
tell
coattails.
he's a good coach because the people under him have become great coaches.
No, they
because
haven't. None of them have.
I think Grable's
Joe
been good.
Judge, he's not
Mike
great.
Grable's a pretty great coach, having all the injuries from the Titans, and I think and Belichick, all the injuries they have. I don't see it your way. I think Belichick is a great coach.
I don't
And
think he's a great coach.
I think he'll go down as probably the greatest coach.
Oh, God, no. No.
All right, I'm just saying. I think people will think that he is the greatest.
I
coach.
think it's two separate careers, with Brady and without Brady, and nobody wants to judge him without Brady.
I think he's West Point too, wasn't he?
Well,
West Point
his
grad?
dad was I think Navy. I think his dad was Navy.
Well, he has
background.
he's got that strict discipline, which I love, and I think that's why he has players that want to play for him.
God, imagine. I don't know. There's just how do you can't lump him. You cannot say he's the greatest of all
Do
time.
you know what? I real quickly, we had Dan Danchik
Yeah,
on last
Dockich.
week. Dan
Dan Dockich, Outkick, right?
Outkick, right? So I've been posting stuff and that. I'm amazed that I said that. I said Outkick is the new. I said it's the greatest thing going on now, and I said ESPN's woke. I'm getting hate, but I'm also getting a lot of love, like from Clay Travis. And someone just said, well, Outkick is not on any sort of TV service. Now, Tom, is that true? Don't they have Wish TV, or isn't Outkick on? Is it just radio, or you said on
no.
the show that there's streaming services?
without a doubt.
and that are
Like
ESPN
Dan
will be
Dockich's-
obsolete. So I want you to explain for my argument to other people.
Well, A, they're on YouTube, okay?
Yeah.
And B, on Outkick, you can see Dan's podcast. You can see Clay Travis there. So don't let them win that argument,
not.
because who's going to their TV to watch ESPN anyway? People
Yeah.
just don't do that. Are you really getting hammered about that?
Some of
little
them
bit?
people are saying woke, and they're laughing at me. You're full of
You're 100% right. I mean, how can
they're
anybody
saying-
make a
and
different
so
argument?
the people that are making that argument obviously are going that they are woke, and they are woke, and they're unwatchable, and I'll stick by that. ESPN has totally changed their. I watch ESPN if there's a game on. I usually mute it so I can watch the game, and I don't listen to a lot of the announcers, and I just have it as background.
Yeah.
You know?
They've got some great announcers. Like, I was watching this thing on Instagram. It was Chris Fowler, and it was that whole college, including McAfee. They were all flying to LA for the Rose Bowl from Atlanta, the Peach Bowl, the semifinal
This
game.
is
And
2 years, not this coming.
No, this was a few weeks ago. So so the whole crew, McAfee's on ESPN now.
Yeah.
So it was Fowler. It was their whole morning show, kickoff.
Kirk Heipster?
Kirk was there. The sideline reporter Shelley Smith, the whole crew, McAfee, the former Georgia player David, whatever his last name is, that's on the pregame show for ESPN. But it was so entertaining and fascinating just listening to these guys talk, right? Where it's not political and they're just showing their personality. But you had to get them on a plane 30,000 feet in the air where they can't, they can't really touch them on Instagram. But yeah, I'm with you, Cato. It's a different world. Okay. I got to put my glasses on. I can't see without them. And my contacts just stink right now. I'm so upset. All right.
Your contacts stink. They must be gas pumpable.
Hey, great year to launch a podcast about scandals because there was a lot last year. I wish we had a show, and we'll hit this year. I guarantee you we're going to come back and talk about this one, and we'll get somebody involved. But the Chris Rock and the Will Smith.
That's almost a year ago today.
It was the Oscars.
It was the Oscars.
Yeah.
And Will Smith has got a 10-year ban.
Yeah.
Now, I think the Oscars that 10-year ban will not last. I really don't. I think they're going to cave to Will Smith, but I don't think they should. But I think they will cave.
They better not. They better not cave. When I think about what he did, I mean, you can't get lower than that. To assault somebody on screen, and then for everybody to give him the standing ovation later, that was just so
right. He
ridiculous.
slapped, and then later on he accepts the Best Actor for for King Richard, whatever, which I didn't see. But
Chris Rock
know it blows.
is loading up. He hasn't really done anything. He'll have a couple comments about it here and there, maybe at a comedy club or something. But don't you think he's going to come back in a big way? Not physically, of course. He's going to humiliate Will Smith on a big stage somehow, some way.
I'm surprised that Chris Rock or someone, and maybe someone did approach him for a clothing line, Slap Clothing or something.
They did?
Really, no,
you're surprised they haven't?
I can't believe that would have been a moneymaker.
He's got to, right? I mean,
well, it's kind of. They should have done that right away. Where he probably does comedy and sells his own merch. He makes a lot of money. I mean, most of the money isn't.
No, I'm saying that he's got to come back hard.
I have
right?
2 questions.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, A, you don't think Chris Rock has something planned where they're going to bring Will Smith on stage where they do a reconciliation on the stage? And B, is slapping someone really an assault?
Yes.
Oh, the way he did it?
Total assault. I
100%. You touch someone's
slap him
body,
in the face like that?
Yeah, that's an assault. But I disagree with Stock Tip Dave because that's them caving in again. And I don't think people are gonna. I don't.
Here's
like
the other
it.
thing.
They may do one of those videos before the Oscar. They have the pre-tape stuff, some comedy stuff with a Will Smith lookalike or something. That might go.
They lost their sense of humor. There's no way they would do that, right? I don't think they'd bring attention to it. No.
And by the way, Chris Rock's not even hosting, is he? We don't know who the host is.
I don't know who it is. Remember, they've gone without hosts for a few years. Here, I'll tell you this, guys. Chris Rock hates Will Smith. There's no way he'd do anything with him as far as a reconciliation or an apology. I think he hates him. I think he's figuring out what his next move is going to be. Right?
Probably sleep with John.
Jimmy Kimmel.
That would be so funny.
I know,
Go on Jimmy Kimmel, maybe, right?
Speaking of woke.
No, he's hosting the Oscars. Jimmy Kimmel.
Oh, he is?
Mm-hmm. All right, so on watch
that's
for me.
Be good. Yeah, that'll be it'll be a political show, no question about it.
It's a woke show.
So I'm looking at what Yahoo considers some of the biggest scandals of last year, and they said Hugh Hefner has his Me Too moment. It's almost like they were gearing up to come after him, right? And when you used to go to the Playboy Mansion all the time, did you always see him? Like, was he always roaming around and, hey, what's up?
No, he had his own. In the 90s, he'd walk around more. The older he got, he had his set place where he'd be for every party. And it's sort of like, kissing the ring of the Pope. You say your greeting to Hef, and always was super cool to me. I was on the short list, which is great because if I wanted to come up to movie night, I'd get invited, and that was only like 25, 30 people. But I rarely went unless it was a movie I really wanted to see.
Yeah.
And now that was obviously before Netflix and everything else. You just had these, and it was great because he had food and all the staff that he had. I became friends with. And Crystal and I became dear friends. So anyways, it was I only saw him at the party being half. I never saw anything terrible.
Yeah.
And by the way, it's jam packed with people. I'm constantly talking to people. I'm normally with a date, and I'm just roaming it with the woman I'm with, and so much fun and so many laughs.
Would he summon you if there's a celebrity or a hot A-list star or somebody like you? Would he summon you? Hey, bring Cato over here to his area.
No, everybody would just come up. If you're. He had a security around him, but hey, F, what's up? That's it. He did his thing, and everybody was just having a ball.
Robe or no robe?
He always had his.
Always had the robe.
Yeah,
the smoking
he had
jacket.
the smoking jacket on.
The
Smoking
smoking
jacket. Sunday parties. If you went up on Sunday, he'd play backgammon. So he had the backgammon and play every day against his buddies that he'd play with. And July 4th was one of the best parties because there'd be a day party, swimming and activities going on the entire time, going to the zoo, trampolines everywhere, and that would go into night. And then he put on an amazing fireworks show. And he was really, really loved America because it was all about
Patriotic.
America. Very patriotic 4th of July party.
Well, self-made man, right?
Yeah.
An entrepreneur, built an empire, made a fortune, iconic.
Yeah.
Forever. Just you harken back at a simpler time in this country.
And
when,
it's different.
when the Playboy Mansion was open for business, right?
And then it was hard to have a magazine with the things how they went today, and you can get porn in your phone for free and all that. And I started getting a rash from that because I was like, God damn, this is way too close, Cato. And I got a really bad rash from watching that porn. I just can't believe it. I get my nose.
All right, prediction time. You ready?
Yeah.
Kanye West dies first or goes broke? How do you think the whole thing ends? Do you think the marriage is legit? So he got married, right? Yeah, he married his architect for the Yeezy line. And she is a Kim K clone.
What's her name?
I
got to look this up.
Or something? No, you got to look it up.
You didn't give me this one.
Oh, yeah, no. Here's my prediction. I think it's going to end really, really badly. I do. I think this does not turn into something where he gets help, turns it around, rebuilds it. I just think the pain that this guy is probably going through, knowing that his kids aren't around all the time, even though he can see them all the time. I just see this thing, and especially the way that the dramatics just follow the Kardashian family. I just don't see this thing being mild. I think it could get really bad.
I think it all depends on the woman he just married. I think if she I don't know her. I don't know anything about her. I think if she brings peace and calm to him, he will be very successful. And I don't know how you lose $1 billion. I really don't know if he can go broke. And I don't think he's going to die. I think he has too much to live for, like his kids. And the woman he married, I don't know anything about her. No background or anything. And if you're saying she's a clone, but I wonder if she's a clone of the heart and the head, or she's a clone just on the looks.
The looks, okay? That's her right there. Bianca Sensori, okay? But there's pictures where she looks
Bianca,
a lot.
I'm not sorry. That's a nice picture.
She's Australian. I mean, she is beautiful. No question about it. I don't know. My first reaction was probably a little bit of a publicity stunt. I mean, unless you really have that much of a type that you can only marry and date somebody that looks like him.
She lives in, she is in Australia when they met, or then she moved here. So she lives in America.
She worked at Yeezy.
Yeah.
She worked at Yeezy.
So he probably had a thing for her, maybe, possibly before.
Maybe, right? He was hanging out at the Waldorf. That's where they first spotted them together, and she had cut her hair and she's blonde now. But yeah, I don't know.
I don't know either. So
it's a fall from grace.
I just
of
wonder.
epic proportions.
I wonder if he's just married just to for spite of and Kim. She's single. I imagine. I don't even keep up with.
Yeah.
I don't keep up with the Kardashians.
Okay. Have you been following the scandal with Good Morning America with Amy Robach and T.J. Holmes?
Yeah,
the anchors.
The affair they had.
Why is that a scandal? Leave these two people alone.
Aren't they?
Let them live their life for God's sake.
But they were married at the same time to different people, so that's automatically a scandal.
Okay, time out. They were separated. At least that's what they said they were. They were separated, and they kept it on the down low. They got busted.
You know what's going on. Allegedly, I can't say, but don't you think if you're having an affair with someone, you're having it while you're married? You don't just separate and start an affair. You have that's always something starts the affair.
No, you're
something
probably right.
Starts breaking up your marriage, and I didn't he have a few of them? Tom, you're an anchor. Did you know these people?
I don't know them personally.
Yeah.
I'm a fan. I like Amy. I think she's good.
What do you think of this? Because of when you're on camera all the time and you have people that you work with all the time, is that a normal thing to have crushes and then act on the crushes?
I think it could go either way. I've been in a lot of TV newsrooms, right?
Yeah.
For 15, 18 years. I think you either love them or it can be hot or cold. I never had feelings or was attracted to anybody I really worked with. I never once. But you can see it. You can see it, especially when they work those early morning hours doing a morning show.
Yeah.
They have that in common. They bond that way. They do spend a lot of time together. They probably spend more time with each other than they do with their spouses. But what is ABC doing? I think this is going to blow up on them because they've now lawyered up, right? They've both gotten big time attorneys to go after ABC because they pulled them off the air and really haven't said why. And they said initially that they're going to support them. Hey, it's brought a lot of publicity. I think you should have them on the air, man. Ratings wars.
Well, I think
you would tune in to see if you could see anything.
They're probably going to do an interview on another network.
Could you imagine that?
Well, I think so, unless their contract states they can't. But I think now if they're being sued, I think all things are. And by the way, I don't even know who they are. I don't watch ABC. I don't. So, and they're on Good Morning America. These are shows that are just awful. So, and it's just my opinion, but these are awful shows.
I used to watch.
The View is awful. Whatever NBC has, CBS. I'm sorry. Their TV is done. The network TV is done. It became. I hate saying the word woke.
Yeah, but it's true. I used to watch the Today Show and Good Morning America every single day.
unwatchable.
That was part of my morning every single day. We haven't watched it.
They have a view, Tom, and their view is on what they want you. They have their agenda, and they don't believe in anybody's other agenda.
And they're very radical about it too.
Yeah.
I mean, they're very aggressive.
Yeah.
They literally think it's a subspecies. Anybody that thinks differently than they do.
Right.
And this whole country is supposed to be about open-mindedness.
Well, just
debate.
like Dan said, Dan Chick on our show.
Yeah, he did. Okay, so Harry and Meghan. Okay,
Yeah.
How sick of you?
Once again, I don't know. I know I did living in. I think they're in Calabasas, whatever. And she was. I had a lot of friends that were on that show, Deal or No Deal.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then in Afghanistan, that show is actually called No Deal, No Deal. And so in the Suitcase Show, I met a few of those people. I'm pretty positive I met them because I used to do a tour of most of them. A lot of them were Hawaiian Tropic girls, and it's so obvious when in interviews that she wears the pants. I think in the family.
Yeah, she's cast a spell on him, and Harry used to have this reputation that he was kind of cool, right? Kind of a rebel.
Yeah.
He was a badass compared to the other.
Yeah, he was like a
people
party
in
boy.
The family.
The party boy.
Yeah, man, you thought he'd kind of be cool to hang out with, and now, man, she has cast a spell on him that's insane. I used to like her on Suits. I thought I liked that show. I liked her on that. But there's something about these two together. But my point is this. So he has this book, right, where he's just blasting everybody in the family, and he has the Taliban pissed off at him, right, because he talked about killing 25 Taliban members, and the way they came back at him was actually pretty funny. Who knew that the Taliban was so PR savvy, right? But anyway, his book set the all-time record for that publishing company for the most sales in one day. He beat Barack Obama.
Wow.
Over 1 million sales. So people actually want to read this thing, even though it got leaked.
It's amazing, and I wonder if he gets a. Obviously, he got a
huge advance.
An advance in that. I wonder if it covers now the book sales and anything over that he gets. I don't know. What his
That's
deal
how it
is,
works.
But I think that he's probably going to make a lot of money, and I think that. But I still think he screwed it up with his own family.
I totally agree.
And I think a lot of people that in England, I really think they're sick of him. I think they want him to stay in America.
Well, they most of the people in England do respect the monarchy, right? That's part of their lives and makes them different. And I think they're a little offended how he's just scoffed at them and just turned his back on them. And he's a little dick. That's kind of how he's acting. Right?
A little bitch.
Yeah, man. All right. Let's see. Hawaiian Tropic. You said it. What was that like? Were you on the bus with them touring?
Oh yeah, I did. I did the emceeing for quite a few shows.
That's awesome. So you're like that movie Dumb and Dumber at the end?
I am Dumb and Dumber. I am. Yeah, exactly. My friend made a big mistake. There's a town 10 miles back that way. You'll find 2 lucky guys to rub you guys down in oil. No, I didn't. It wasn't part of the oil. We didn't do that. We did a few things. Went to Hawaii. They had competitions. The late Ron Rice, who was also a very, very cool guy. He he took care of people. He put up a great event, and then it became a TV show. I think with Mark Cuban on HD. I did a Bikini Destinations with the late Casey Bennett, whose father, Bob Bennett, owned, which became Fox Network. He sold that. He owned whatever it was before Fox, and so I was around these great people. And Casey was really young, and I just remember when Casey Bennett died, I was like, "You have got to be kidding me!" I was really close to him. Casey lived near you. Well, actually, in Marina Del Rey, right by your hotel that you party at.
Oh yeah.
So it was. Anyways, we'd be on the road. I didn't do the oiling. We just did the things. They had to. It was hours that you can't believe. They had to go to a certain amount of bars. They'd be hired to go to a bar in Acapulco. We go to Senior Frog and everything, and they'd stay an hour, go, and it would last until 4 or 5 a.m. And then they would do photo shoots after in the morning. And then they have an event. But that was Hawaiian Tropical, which I think they sold to Banana Boat or something. I forget who they sold it to. And it became obsolete.
I'll never forget the epic mud wrestling battle against the Swedish bikini team. That was phenomenal, wasn't it? Going back, I'm kidding.
No, well, I thought you were going to bring it up. The big fight scene was of some of the girls from Stripes, the mud wrestling scene. So.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
Early 80s?
Those early 80s. I was working at a place called Nick's Fish Market. They had two of the cocktail waitresses in that scene. Oh, my God.
You know what, Cato?
I've got so much history.
You know, it's funny because you think about everything's a numbers game, right? I don't know if you saw that story in the New York Post. Stock tip, you should pull this one up, and we'll put it on the YouTube version of this, where they found these two baseball players. They're minor league baseball players. They both have red hair and a red beard, okay? And they have the exact same name. They look like twins, and they're not related. It's the most crazy thing. So I was talking about that with my daughter the other day, and I'm just saying, okay, if there's 7 billion people on the planet right now, how many people have died in the past? Maybe 3 billion, 4 billion in the history of the planet. So with that type of numbers, I guess almost anything can happen. The things that you think are completely impossible or unbelievable could eventually happen. Like these two lookalikes, even though they have no DNA that they share, and they have the same name. It's just so crazy. But I think you can unequivocally say no one in the history of the planet could have a life or a career like yours, right? With the opportunities, right? The stuff that's come your way. You know what we should do? We should do a resume for you. And just
You're the writer.
I will do it. I think this would be awesome. And we'll post it on online. And I think this thing would get huge traction. Let's do a resume of all the cool gigs that you've had.
You know, I saw that you can go on YouTube at Harvard Resumes, how to write the proper resume from Harvard University. They say it's a free site to go on to, but I don't think you knew that. Your resumes probably are top notch.
You know,
top shelf
I
guy.
can write a resume, and I want to do yours.
Okay.
That would be. Could you remember all the gigs if we had to?
Yeah, I think so. I think I can remember. Yeah, my first gig ever for working was I lived in Wisconsin. I worked in an ice house, and in the ice house, it was the summertime where there's a thing called Summerfest, the world's largest music festival. I had the ice cart, and I would drive the cart around dropping ice off. It was the best
Because
gig.
people are sweating, and you had to, or for their drinks, or what?
No, Summerfest is on the lakefront.
Okay.
So it's all the restaurants, and everybody gets together for 2.5 weeks. It's a complete party, and they have bands like back then it was McCartney, Wings. And it's a huge, they had the Rolling Stones, and I would drive the cart around and dropping ice off to people. So I was like the hottie. The kid who's got ice, and it was one of the best times. But the worst part about it was only 2.5 weeks. Then I had to go back to work in an ice house at 5 a.m. So you spend your entire winter in the cold, and I'm spending my summer in the cold. My dad said, "You work. You have to work." So
Get a job, son.
I had a job. Then it was my money for college.
Okay, so when did you make the decision to move to LA?
I did that in. I had a show in Wisconsin, Eau Claire called Cato and Friends. I said I got to do bigger things.
Radio?
TV. I had a TV and radio.
That's
TV
going on
radio.
your resume.
Then,
I'm putting that on there.
Yeah, and I was. It was like everybody knew me on campus. I got fired, and then the dean had to go into the dean's office because I was doing things that were really. You look back, it's like nothing. And compared to nowadays, it was just making fun of the school, that type of stuff. It was very Saturday Night Live.
Right. Do you think if you were known as, or if people called you Brian Kalin, do you think you would have turned into this phenomenon? Do you think your name,
I don't know.
Not that it has anything to do with anything, but it is so memorable and so different.
Yeah, probably not. I think the name Cato sticks out in people's mind. Cato Kalin. It just rolls off your tongue.
It does,
And
man.
Brian Kalin is very mature. I have a,
Hello, I'm Brian.
That's right. That's when I know I'm in trouble with my parents.
On the top of the resume, we're going Brian. Okay, that's got to be part of it. All right,
Right.
so you get out here. The story that we really haven't talked about here, if you don't mind, is the fact that you were an actor and had a very successful casting company.
Yeah.
Right about the same time that your life changed. But the movie that you auditioned for, we've already brought it up today.
I should look. I've got my SAG card right here, and I've been a member. My God, for over. It's going on about 35 years or so. 36 years.
So do you have the benefits, the insurance and everything through it? SAG-AFTRA?
Well, SAG. This is the funny thing. Your benefits you have to be working a SAG job on a major show. They change every year, and it almost becomes impossible to get SAG insurance. You have to make a certain amount of money.
Okay.
So no, not. I did have it in 2019.
Huh. Do you still have to pay the dues for 35 years?
Oh yeah,
They're
I pay
automatic-
dues.
okay.
I pay dues twice a year.
Those are steep.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not cheap.
No, that's why it's hard to. It's a catch-22. It's very hard to get a SAG card. People, it's and when I got it, it was expensive. So I can't imagine what it is now. I have my card, so you got to keep up your dues and.
Okay, I
the
teased
production.
it, but talk about Dumb and Dumber. Talk about auditioning for it. Can you?
Sure. I mean, but before this is the best part. My very first audition, coming out from Wisconsin to L.A., I auditioned for a Coke commercial. I got it. And I said, "This is the
One for one. One audition, you got the gig.
I said, "Is this really it? I'm going to make so much money." Back then, I paid a lot of money. So I shot a Coke commercial. I remember one of the actors I shot it with. His name was Kyle Secor. Kyle Secor became a very successful actor. He was on a soap, but then he did a Julia Roberts film, the one where Patrick, he's
Like from the 90s?
Sleeping with the Enemy.
Okay, sure.
And so
Wait, the main guy that played her husband?
no,
The
that was
psycho?
Patrick. It was the guy in the boat, the doctor. But I mean, he had a main role. So anyway, I did this, and my spot got cut. They liked me. They gave me another commercial for Cherry Coke. I got cut. I get paid now for the stuff, but I'm not in the scene. Then I did a Slice commercial. I'm not making this stuff up. I got cut.
Man, you were dominating that soda category,
I was,
weren't you?
well, the same. Sometimes the same casting people call you up and get you. They want you to do get in another spot, and I got cut. I was bawling because I kept thinking 3 nationals. By the way, that would have been for that time well over $200,000. So that didn't happen, and then
Okay, that's
when it was-
crazy.
Then I just keep auditioning, and I just audition, and then I got a buddy of mine named Aaron Meyerson. Worked at New Line. I played basketball with him, along with a guy named Dan Loeb. Great people. Dan Loeb owns a company called Third. He's multi-billionaire. Third. It's a hedge fund. God,
I'll
I
find
can't
it.
think.
I know
Third
who he
Point.
is.
I think He's probably down at the Davos convention now. I don't know. He's one of the richest people in America.
Mm-hmm.
He and I we always hang out. This is back in the 90s. We'd go out and we played basketball. We did everything. And then Aaron said, "I got a script. You've got to read. You've got to be in this." And that was Dumb and Dumber. I have the script somewhere at my house, the original. And then I went and he set me up. I met with casting and they bred me for roles after roles, put me on camera. And then I had the very long hair at the time. And then Jeff Daniels, who's a great actor, became I read for that role. But if you think about it, he's very Cato Hairish.
Yeah.
With that.
No kidding.
So it was it. But anyways, later in life, I met the Farrelly brothers at the Bill Maher golf event. They could not have been cooler than me. We had an absolute ball.
Did they know that you had auditioned?
Yeah. And then I brought it back up to them. They remembered. But years before that, I went to the Super Bowl in Houston, and I met them there again. And we were all at a dinner table, and I was at the dinner table and just cracking up with them. And the funny thing is, I said they couldn't be any nicer to me at the Bill Maher event. They could have been a little nicer and given me parts because they were really cool.
Right.
And they just said, "God, you should be in films."
Well,
And I
you
was
should have
like,
been in all
"God,
their
you
films,
guys,
right?
You got power."
Stuck on You. I mean, they made some funny
Yeah.
films. I mean, the
Kingpin,
Dumb and Dumber.
come on.
I remember seeing Dumb and Dumber. I was working in Phoenix for ABC at the time, so I was a couple years into my career, and I was the only sports anchor at the station because we were in between. They were hiring somebody else, so I just worked every single day. I worked 120 out of 122 days of anchoring the sportscast every single day. That's a lot.
And this is what years?
93 or 94.
Okay, so who's the basketball? Is Marley your sports guy?
Oh God, and Charles Barkley was there. I would literally go to the Suns practice after practice for one reason: to go into the locker room because Charles Barkley held court, and he was a comedian. He was literally a stand-up comedian, busting Marley's chops, Danny Ainge, Kevin Johnson. But as funny as he is now, he was funnier back then. It was just insane. He's the most likable guy. I ran into him in Phoenix a couple years ago. Charles, what's up? Oh, just hanging out, getting drunk. That's how he is. He's just out there with the people, having a good time.
I've been
So my point is, the one day I had off, I went to watch Dumb and Dumber. And that movie, still to this day, I think is just one of the funniest movies. Do you remember when you auditioned for it, what scene you read? Because I know that whole movie.
I don't. They had sides. I read like 4 different roles.
God.
So it was, I don't remember. I think one of them was by the way, and Harlan Williams was great in it, was the traffic cop.
Yeah.
That part. He was
good.
made that, he owned that whole role.
Yeah.
So, anyways, Rick Montgomery cast it. That's what I remember. And then I bumped, after the trial, I bumped into him in a Ralph's on Doheny, and we looked at each other, and he said, Cato? I went, Rick Montgomery. And then we just talked about the whole thing during the cereal aisle. And then we went down the frozen food aisle. We kept talking. Whoa, those are great memories.
It's so, like, Hollywood is so different right now because my son's an actor.
Yeah.
So he's getting auditions frequently. But back in the day, you had to drive him, right? You drive him into L.A., drive him to West Hollywood, and go to the cattle call. You sit there, you wait, you go in, you got one shot. Now it's so different. You do a self-tape at home. You can really work on that thing and nail it, work with an acting coach if you want beforehand.
Jeez,
the world has changed.
I didn't
Even
know
for
that.
you, when you used to own a casting agency, I mean, that was all day, every day, right?
Yeah.
People are just coming in for different roles.
Well, actually, no. We had our casting agency was already we'd be assigned to films. We cast the extra roles and the one-day roles. So we pretty much, it was easy. We had a resume of 150 to 200 people. So if they needed a crowd scene, we'd get the crowd scene. We get a price for each person.
Interesting. And you get a cut of all of that too.
Yeah, and then I'd be on set wrangling them, and it was long. Look, they don't treat their extras great.
Hell
They
no.
had to separate everything.
And it's what,
Separate
$50 a day,
tables.
maybe $100 a day.
Yeah, back then
It's
it
not
was
good.
about- yeah.
And it's a full day, right? You have to be there until they tell you can leave.
It's a full.
Yeah.
It's over 14 hours.
Yeah, that was work, wasn't it?
Yeah, and a lot of times people would just leave. They said it's not worth the 50, and they'd leave. So you had to back up and get someone else. So those are the days. I want to ask you a question. In your days of being at, you were Chicago in the heyday sports, and you did Arizona, and I don't know where you were in a relationship, if you were married or not married, but being seen every day in that city,
Chicago?
Chicago, in Phoenix, wherever it was, was it difficult for you? Were you being hit on a lot?
You know what? I made myself a moving target. So I would be in and out, and I wouldn't hang out long enough maybe to be. In Chicago, back in the 90s when you're on the news, it was a big deal, right? Because people love sports. They see you on TV, and so that was pretty cool.
And by the way, are you single then at that time, or are you married?
Both.
Okay.
Both. Now, in Boston, when I was there, I hated Boston. They hated me. I just did not like the city. I just got meshed there, and they basically ran me out of town. But what you just described does catch up with some people on TV. I mean, they really get full of themselves. They think that they're a little bit bigger than they are. You try not to, right?
Right. But did you see yourself getting caught up in, like in restaurants, so you had to wait? Did you kind of like, hey, I'm Tom Center?
Luckily, the people that worked at restaurants watch TV, so maybe you don't even have to say your name sometimes or whatever. But I didn't try to pull anything like that. If there was a little convenience here and there, that was great. And I tended to go to the same places. I remember one time though, I always felt though, if you got too full of yourself, something will humble you. Something will happen.
100%.
And here's one of them.
100% correct.
Do you remember when George Clooney had the Caesar haircut? Yeah. Like he was on ER. It worked for him. I tried to do it, but I didn't fully commit. And I tried.
You had the Caesar salad haircut.
And I have a colic, so my hair is not going to lay flat on top. It's great if you want to part your hair. It's not great for trying to emulate George Clooney. So I did it. And with something like that, you got to go all in or you're going to make an ass out of yourself.
Yeah.
I made a complete ass of myself. I show up for the news that night, and Ron Majors was the long, legendary news anchor. He's sitting at the anchor desk. He takes a look at me, looks away, looks back at me again. Haircut?
You're on air?
Yeah, kind of. Haircut? Yeah, I did. And then I'm trying to go like this
Yeah.
and fix it, and I knew how bad it was. Oh my God, I think I have pictures of that too.
You know, we're speaking of scandals and all that. In one of our shows later on, we're gonna have someone on that's in the medical field, owns quite a few medical clinics. What do you think? Your opinion? What did you think of the things when you had actors like a George Clooney, because you brought him up, of saying get your COVID shot, get this, and now the CDC is saying themselves it's not this, and they're 2 years late on everything. Dr. Lena Wen from CNN, they're also finding out what's going on, and someone just died today, a 38-year-old, I think a boxer, or it just came out today.
No, I saw that, and then the other day, somebody that was on American Idol who was 31 had a heart attack. There's a lot of heart attacks for young people. It's pretty strange.
So what do you think? And we're going to find out on a later show. What do you think of these actors that think they can tell you what to do, and then you find out later that all this stuff is just bullshit?
I think that they really believe that you owe society to get vaccinated. I don't think that they're paid. I don't think that they're trying to put. I think in their warped minds, to a certain degree, they thought that the vaccine was good. They did, but to use their influence. And I know a lot of people that probably regret getting the vaccine right now, right? There's just some weird things that have happened.
It's like, stay out of your lane. Just go and find out. And all these great doctors out of Stanford, from Dr. J. Budikara, and anyways, I'm researching everything, finding all the stuff, all the I guess the lies that were committed. It's just like awful. But we're going to find out more, and that's it later.
Yeah.
But because it's a scandal.
Well, I will say this. This is a legit news story from the past week. So there's a columnist for the Washington Post. She's in the medical industry, and she's also a contributor to CNN. So she has been on TV a lot the last couple of years, talking about the pandemic, talking about the vaccine, talking about lockdowns, talking about everything. And she wrote a column in the Washington Post last week that basically said what a lot of people knew, that the deaths for COVID have been exaggerated to practically 90%. So every hospital that was reporting deaths, if most of these people died a different way but had COVID, and then they would say that that person died of COVID. They died having COVID, but they died of something else.
Right. Gunshot wound.
These experts, these people that run hospitals, that head entire wings of the surgical units or whatever they do, these are people with a lot of status and credentials, literally said it's about 90% exaggeration. Maybe 10% of the actual deaths, people died from COVID. So it's odd, it's weird. And now isn't Biden they're trying to make people wear masks on planes again. They're trying to fight when the court overturned that, earlier this year or earlier last year. So we'll see. A lot of scandals. Yeah. I'm more interested in writing your resume.
That hour went by so fast.
Stock tip real quickly. Are the Orlando Magic in a playoff chase? Is there hope for them?
I'll answer for you, stock tip Dave. No.
Right? You're gearing up for another lottery pick.
I mean, I want the lottery. They're like 2 games from the playoffs, but it's such a monumental draft. It's a win-win situation. They can develop and lose and get high picks.
They'll get 2 of the top picks, won't they?
Yeah, they have the Chicago Bulls pick and their pick.
With that, actually, they'll be a tough team in like 3 years.
Hey, by the way, are you into the Bucks as much as you are the Brewers and the Packers?
Not at all. But when it gets close to the playoffs, I will be rooting because they're Milwaukee.
Yeah.
And I did go to their championship season. I went to 2 of the games.
Did you?
And
luckily, you've got a very likable superstar, Giannis.
Yeah, actually, one of the people that's been really cool to me is the PR department of the Bucks. If I come to town, I can write a note. Although the last note I wrote, I wanted to get someone, a buddy of mine, Akeem Anastapoulo, who I did he married me, and he also was on Eye for an Eye. I was the host; he was the judge. His wish is to get a signed jersey for his daughters, and I said he's Greek. He goes to Greece a lot. He says Giannis is on every commercial. His family loves him, but they didn't reply to me on that.
What?
Yeah,
ask him again.
Yeah,
they'll get you one. There's no reason they shouldn't.
I would think, I would hope, but I don't know. And if you have a connection to that, let me know.
Okay, we can get him that for sure.
Yeah,
I'd love to go to a game with you. I'd like to go to that Deer Zone, or what's that called? The where they all hanging out outside.
Yeah, I think it's the Deer Zone.
Yeah, something like that. Phenomenal, 100,000 people.
And great. Pfizer Forum is really cool because it's surrounded by great bars.
And now your boy Aaron Rodgers is dating the owner's daughter.
Do you believe
How
that?
cool. Good for him.
Yeah, and he's part owner.
Yeah, he
small
is.
Percentage.
Right? All right. Hey, thanks so much, everybody. Get caught up on some of our old shows. Make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel. Content coming out every single day. Watch for Cato's resume. I'm putting that sucker
please
together.
do. And honestly, like your Tom says, God, I hate selling it, but our show was so freaking good. It's at YouTube. It's so easy to subscribe. And I talk to my family a lot. They're older. They don't even know how to work that stuff, and I'm saying, just subscribe to the damn show. And
It'll
they're like,
show up
Okay,
automatic.
Cato, listen, we're going to go out there. We're going to shovel some snow. So what is it again? Scandalous what? I go, 1 degree scandalous. I go over this, honestly.
Yeah.
Every week I call more than once a week. I go, you guys watch, listen? Oh, yeah. What's that? It's a scandalous thing, right? All right, you guys. My own family, I can't get to.
Cato, it sounds like my parents. I'm from Minnesota. Exact same thing.
Oh, yeah.
By the way, how were they during the trial? Were they beside themselves?
Oh, yeah. They would, no. Remember you said about being humble?
Yeah.
You know, they kept me, because I was on TV, and I said, no, that my parents, my father had passed away already, but my mom, no, it was heartbreaking more than anything. They hated it.
Yeah.
They hated it, and
Yeah, I mean, you couldn't avoid it, right? I mean, it was everywhere.
Yeah.
Nonstop.
And it's good to have a strong family, though.
All right. For Cato Kalin, I'm Tom Zenner. Stock Tip Dave, thanks for helping us out today.
Oh, God, I got one more thing to say.
Okay, go ahead.
You said Cato. People think it's Cato Caitlin. So Vlad TV, the first thing they put up the ad was Cato Caitlin after they did the interview. And people were saying, the interview, how did they spell your name wrong? And they did a correction. And I was like, so many people think it's Cato Caitlin.
Well, I mean, you go out with one date with Bruce Jenner, and look what happens. I'm so sorry that you have to deal with that.
That's when Bruce, when he was hitting off the men's tees, that's when I hung out with him.
Hard to believe.
Caitlin.
We're
So
gonna
it's
get
Cato
him.
Kaelin, Kaelin.
The last time I saw him, or her, it was pretty funny because he's going, Jenner, Zenner, Jenner. He was so amused by that. We'll get him on our show sometime.
Caitlin Zenner, I love it.
All right, guys. Thank you, everybody. Go back, check out the shows, download and subscribe to our channel, and we will see you next week on 1 Degree of Scandalous with Cato Kalin and Tom Zenner.
With headsets off.